Most people know the Maasai people through the most dramatic moments on the savannah, but their culture is not shaped by those rare confrontations. It is formed in ordinary days, when people, livestock, and nature coexist in silence and discipline. Morning on the savannah begins like any other day. Sunlight spreads evenly across the dry grass, livestock move slowly, and the familiar rhythm of life seems unchanged. But for the Maasai people, this sense of stability is always carefully observed. Even the smallest signs can signal that balance is being tested. The leopard is part of this land. Most of the time, it exists alongside people without creating conflict. But when its presence moves too close to grazing areas, when the risk to livestock is no longer just a possibility, the community begins to pay attention. This is not an immediate reaction, but the result of long and careful observation. In situations like this, the Maasai do not treat it as an individual matter. Every decision is collective, based on shared agreement and knowledge accumulated over generations. The goal is not confrontation, but protecting livelihoods and allowing everyday life to continue.
Yani mimi leo nachukulia na simu yako pamoja.
If hunting is ever mentioned, it exists only as a last resort. It is not seen as a symbolic act or a ritual meant to honor strength. On the contrary, it is something the community tries to avoid, because every intervention risks disturbing the natural balance of the savanna. Once the situation is resolved, there is no visible shift in daily rhythm. There are no milestones to remember, no stories retold as triumphs. Livestock continue to graze, people return to familiar tasks, and a new day passes like any other. For the Maasai, moments like these do not define who they are. What defines them is how they organize life so that moments of tension remain rare. Most of their time is spent maintaining stability between people, livestock, and the surrounding environment. That is why, in hindsight, the hunt is no longer the center of the story. It is simply a sign that balance was once tested before things returned to their familiar state. And from that point, what becomes far more meaningful to explore is how the Maasai build their lives so that this balance can endure. Subscribe to continue stepping into the everyday lives of Maasai communities. The Maasai people are a nomadic pastoral community with a way of life shaped by movement. They are not born to stay in one place for too long, nor do they see borders as something that defines their lives. Moving with the seasons, following water sources and grazing land, is how they adapt to the vast and ever-changing savanna. The traditional living space of the Maasai stretches across familiar grassland regions such as Maasai Mara Game Reserve and Amboseli National Park. These are not just famous names on a tourism map, but lands that have been deeply connected to Maasai life for generations. For the Maasai, home is not defined by a fixed location. Home is where the livestock can live safely, where people can continue their familiar rhythm of life. When conditions change, leaving does not mean loss, it is simply a natural part of living.
Education for our community is visiting each other in the morning, unite together, and this is the best things that help them.
We have the first word, sopa. Sopa means hello. The second word, asholing.
Asholing.
And olesere is bye-bye. So remember sopa, asholing, olesere.
Olesere.
The Maasai people use the Ma language in their everyday lives. It is not only a tool for communication, but also a way for the community to preserve its memory. In a society where knowledge is mainly passed down orally, language acts as a bridge between generations. Stories, herding experience, ways of reading the weather, and how to relate to nature are not written into books. They are learned through listening, through living together, and by observing those who came before. Maasai culture, therefore, does not exist on paper, but lives within everyday practice. When a language is used daily, it preserves more than words. It carries the way a community thinks and the way it understands the world.
Sofa.
Traditional homes of the Maasai people are low, simple, and temporary in nature. They are built to suit a mobile way of life, rather than to last for generations. House construction is usually carried out by women, using materials readily available from the surrounding environment. Homes are arranged into villages, enclosed by a protective fence known as an enkan. Within this enclosure, livestock are placed at the center. This layout is not accidental. It clearly reflects what the Maasai value most in their daily lives.
Say hello.
Or we should play.
Hello.
Yes.
Architecture here is not meant to display beauty or power. It exists to serve livelihood, safety, and community. Through the way homes are built and villages are organized, we can see the Maasai philosophy of life. Everything revolves around maintaining stability in everyday living. Every story is a life. Subscribe to join us on the journeys ahead.
What do you call? That's why we don't make kind of window, but we make a small one, a very small one.
So these are the goats, and this is where they sleep. Yard, goats yard.
For the Maasai people, livestock are more than just a source of livelihood. They are a measure of responsibility, a sign of connection among family members, and a link between generations. Caring for the herds is not seen as an individual task, but as a shared obligation of the entire community. The value of livestock does not lie in numbers or trade alone, but in their role within spiritual life. Animals are closely tied to social relationships, to coming of age, and to a sense of security in everyday life. By observing how the Maasai treat their herds, it becomes clear that nature is not viewed as something to be quickly exploited, but as something to be protected over the long term.
Americans.
No, Italian.
Italy.
Yes.
Traditionally, the Maasai believe in a single deity known as Ngai, or Nkai. This spiritual presence is closely connected to familiar natural phenomena such as rain, thunder, drought, and harvests. Within this belief system, nature is not a passive backdrop, but a living force that responds to human actions. Rain is seen as a sign of harmony and prosperity, while drought represents a period of testing. This perspective encourages the Maasai to maintain a cautious and respectful attitude toward their environment. Rather than trying to control nature, they learn to observe it, adapt to it, and accept the changes it brings. Today, most Maasai people practice Christianity, while others follow Islam. Religious shifts and modern life have influenced the community in many different ways. Yet what stands out is that many core values continue to endure. Living alongside nature, prioritizing community, and placing balance at the center of life remain part of daily practice. Even as circumstances change, the way the Maasai organize their lives shows that they do not seek to separate themselves from the savanna, but to continue existing with it. When we look at the Maasai today, we see not only a community adapting to the modern world, but a culture that is still very much alive, quietly, resiliently, and deeply connected to the environment around it. Maasai culture is not shaped by dramatic moments, but by the way they live through ordinary days. Only when we slow down do we begin to see the endurance, discipline, and deep relationship between people and nature. If you'd like to keep exploring cultures built from everyday life like this, don't forget to follow the channel and continue the journey with stories about the Maasai people and beyond.